Good evening. Welcome to the Tuesday, August 23rd regular meeting of the Mason County Board of Commissioners. Would you please stand with me and say the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Can we have the roll call, please?
Commissioner District 1, Randy Netherland.
I'm here.
Commissioner District 2, Tim Sheldon is absent. Commissioner District 3, Claire Jeffries.
Here. Item number 4, correspondence and organizational business. Can you please report the correspondence received by the Commission?
Mason County Fire District 6 sent roster updates. Mindy Harlow sent information regarding a proposed project on the Tahuya River Bridge. And Mary Eklund, Suzanne Washington, John Egbert, Jim Madden, Milnese Kearns, Jim Reese, Stephanie Rowland, Mike and Lynn Jorgensen, Guy and Kathy Earl sent input regarding boating regulations. And also I did receive additional input from Jean and Nancy Starr, Stephen Croft, and Barbara Tarabocha.
Thank you very much. Is there any other organizational business to come before us?
No, there isn't.
Next is our item, the open forum for citizen input, an opportunity for our one citizen to address the Commission on any items not on the agenda. I assume you would like to speak to the Commission.
Well, I don't want to speak to the Commission. I just hope I can ask a question. You can answer it for me.
Okay.
Try our best.
This is the voting ordinance hearing.
Okay. That's coming up later, though. That is
This,
on the agenda.
this doesn't, I'm not going to speak for or against or anything. I would just like to know if you contacted the prosecuting attorney to see what our liability might be if you eliminate that.
Okay. We will take that up when we get to that portion of the agenda. Thank you. Sorry. Mr. Reese, did you want to address the Commission on any topics not on the agenda?
No, thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. That takes us to item number 6, the approval of the agenda.
Madam Chair, I move for the approval of the agenda as written.
All second. It's been moved and second to approve the agenda as written. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Approval of the minutes.
Madam Chair, I move for the approval. August 9th, 2016 regular meeting minutes.
All second. It's been moved and second to approve the August 9th, 2016 regular meeting minutes. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Next is our action agenda. The intention is to vote to approve all of the items on the action agenda with one vote. We will read through those items. After the reading of all the items on the agenda, anybody here in the audience has an opportunity to ask any questions or to request that any of the items be removed for a separate vote. Commissioner Netherland, I will take the numbers. Why don't you take 8.1 and 8.2 and I'll finish up the list.
You got it. And you realize we're going to have a real big problem here come 5
Yes,
minutes
we
from
are.
now.
We may have to do a recess.
Yeah. Madam Chair, item number 8.1, approval of memorandum of understanding between Mason County District Court, and AFSCME Local 1504. This agreement will be in effect for 6 months. Item number 8.2, approval of the Veterans Assistance Fund application for utilities. $573.47 as recommended by the Veterans Service Office. Item number 8.4, approval to set a public hearing on September 20th, 2016 at 9:30 a.m. to take public comment on the award of a solid waste drop box hauling agreement to Mason County Garbage Company, Incorporated. Item number 8.5, approval to set a public hearing on September 13th, 2016 at 9:30 a.m. to consider amendments to the 2016 budget.
Item 8.3, approval of warrants. There are claims clearing fund warrants numbers 8041930 through 8042185 for a total amount of $270,858.35. The direct deposit fund warrants number 33587 through 33979 for a total amount of $612,736.60. And the salary clearing fund warrants 7002088 through 7002127 for a total amount of $890,550.90. All those come to a total of $1,744,145.85. Our year-to-date total for claims clearing is $20,762,400. $576.92. Our direct deposit year-to-date total is $8,160,210.40, and our salary clearing year-to-date total is $8,719,355.05. Is there anybody in the audience that has any questions on any of the items just read? Commissioner Netherland, do you have any questions?
I have no questions.
Would you like anything pulled for a separate vote? Okay, then I would entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move for the approval of the action agenda as presented.
And I'll second. It's been moved and seconded to approve items 8.1 through 8.5 on today's action agenda. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carried. We will move to item number 10 because the public hearing cannot begin until the 6:30 time period. So that we will go to the board reports and calendars. This is an opportunity for us to report anything that we have done as a representation of the Mason County, as well as any meetings that we have been to or will potentially be at together, providing a quorum. Commissioner Netherland, would you like to start?
Yes, I can do the ones that I've done the last week, but I'm a little shy on the ones that, for the next week. For some reason, it's not.
Oh, okay.
So, Mason Transit Authority meeting, Allen Historic Society meeting, the OPP, the meeting for OPP on helping them for transition and working to get some job fairs and stuff like that together. EDC met with Lynn Longan and staff. I also had a meeting with Drew McEwen. I met with some of the community leaders, including Don, Katie, and the like, for some issues up north. I went to the airport thing they were having down there to see if there's anybody that we can try and steal from some of those people to try and bring them here to south into Mason County. We had our realtor housing event that you also attended. 2 executive sessions, briefings, Mason Transit Authority meeting, North Mason Community Voice meeting. I know we will be doing the transit meeting together, I think this, on Tuesday, and I'm gonna have to piggyback off of yours. Let's see if there's something I can
Okay,
do for the rest
sounds
of
like
it.
a plan. Okay, last week, following our commission meeting, I did meet with our undersheriff Barrett about their proposal for the jail alternatives. We certified the primary elections at the canvassing board and had the Mason Transit Authority board. Had a criminal justice working team meeting Wednesday the 17th. We also had our first meeting of a recruitment or search committee for the new director to recruit and hire a new director for the Lewis Mason Thurston Area Agency on Aging. Let's see, I went to the Joint Chambers after hours at Hood Canal Communications. We had a meeting with some stakeholders regarding potential retrofit and ownership of the Vance Creek Bridge. It turns out that the Washington State Parks is very much interested in that bridge and keeping the excitement of it regarding the ability to look down, some of the things that will make that an amazing attraction. And so I would anticipate in the future I will be asking the Board of Commissioners to write a letter in support of their picking up
I hope you do.
ownership of the Vance Creek Bridge. Had a meeting of the Thurston Mason Behavioral Health Organization in which we all did approve the contracting with Telecare for a mobile crisis outreach team here in Mason County. Very excited to be able to meet with Telecare and introduce them to the needs of here in the county in that area. Friday the 19th was the United Way Day of Caring, which was a spectacular one this year. It's probably my 5th year of participating in that, and this was probably the best year yet. Normally we will do work for a nonprofit, such as, some painting for them or some of their clients, do some work for them. But this year we had on our list 5 houses that are to be abated by the city of Shelton that needed to have a lot of garbage cleaned out of the yards. And we got through 2 of them, but we have 2 homes in the city of Shelton now that are no longer eyesores and or nuisances to the neighborhood. And I think that this is something that will happen from here on out. And Mason County was a sponsor of this in that some of the garbage pickup or tipping fees were paid for by the Current Expense Fund. And there was also just an opportunity for people to bring in some of that garbage, and we hauled that off to to the transfer station. It was a great day of carrying, and I anticipate this happening the same way in the future, as well as people talked about just starting this as an activity of their own, so as private nonprofit group or something. So I'm pretty encouraged by that. It was really a community service this year. We did the Mason County Association of Realtors Housing Issues briefing, which gave us a tremendous look into the housing market here in Mason County. Very, very strong right now as compared to years past, and so it was always good news. We had our commissioner briefings on Monday. I did also attend the Belfair Park and Ride public meeting last night, and then I met with Linda Gayoso, who's with Planned Parenthood, regarding some of their education and outreach opportunities and potential for us to partner with them at the county, especially in our juvenile detention services. Let's see. Tomorrow I'll be going to an entrance audit conference for the Mason Transit Authority, as well as the Mason Transit Authority budget workshop with you. We have a Mason Matters meeting on Thursday, and Thursday the 25th is the grand opening of the new triage center in Thurston County. This will be a short 72-hour involuntary hold facility as an alternative to a jail, the jail and our ERs. So this is the type of facility that I had been talking about, us trying to find a location here in Mason County, except that this one is also set up for involuntary holds.
What day is that?
That will be Thursday the 25th at noon, and the location, I'm going to have to send you an address because I have not been there
Okay,
yet.
let's put it on the calendar that if it's okay with you, I may attend that to see
That would
as
be
well.
wonderful, because there'll be a touring it as well.
I do believe that that's what you're bringing here. That's the way of the future. So
Okay.
Let's put it-
Then we'll have a meeting of Lewis Mason Thurston Area Agency on Aging. I'll be attending the Shelton Chamber of Commerce after hours, and then I will be doing a visit of the Skokomish Watershed GI study projects that are going on in the Skokomish River Valley to alleviate flooding and ecosystem restoration. This weekend is the last seed sale of the Taylor Shellfish Farms oyster, clam, geoduck seeds. And so if you're a waterfront owner, come out and buy your seed. Monday the 29th, we'll be back here for a briefing, and then there'll be a audit exit conference I'll be attending.
On the some of the information on the mental health one of the Shelton Chamber of Commerce after hours. Where's that going to be?
That'll be at the Green Diamond, the Mason Lake Properties.
Okay, and time and date.
5 o'clock on the 25th of August.
Okay, and I'm going to try and be there for that. And the Skoke GI study. I don't know.
That's
not in there.
actually just a kind of a private tour of myself.
Okay, that's
Yeah.
not the one with because they were talking about having the bigger.
No, this is just myself
Oh,
and
okay.
Rich Geiger and Mike Anderson from the Skokomish Watershed Action Team.
No problem.
And then because we do not have a meeting next week, it's the 5th Tuesday. Just go further, I am also doing a tour of the Tahuya River Bridge project with Mindy Harlow of Hood Canal Salmon Enhancement Group, just so I can get better prepared for that, or understand that project. And then the Pacific Mountain Workforce Development Council is the last week of August too.
Okay. And I did want to mention that I also attended another tour of the Hood Canal Bridge because of the issues that we're dealing with the fish kills underneath there and all the salmon disappearing. Representative Kilmer was there. Representative Theringer was there, and some folks there were there from Patty Murray's office as well and stuff, all went on the tour. We need to reach out to our local representatives and ask if they would like to join, and maybe you would like to go along for
I would very much like to see that.
definitely very interesting.
Okay. So, just for the public's knowledge, the Hood Canal Quarrying Council and the Port Gamble Tribe and a lot of other stakeholders have identified that some of our salmon that we're trying to rear here and hatch here in Mason County and all along the Hood Canal, some of them are just not getting past the Hood Canal Bridge. And we know that because they're tagged And there's apparently a lot of tags sitting at the bottom of the canal right there at the bridge. There's all kinds of theory about what it is, something as far as how far down the floats go, and that these young salmon cannot dive that deep. The salmon, the type of species that go along the sides of the bridge get out fine, but there's certain species that go down the center, and they're just not making it. And so the Hood Canal Quarrying Council is seeking funding and to do some kind of look and see about what might be done to alleviate that problem. And I think that it could be informative for any other floating bridge projects that there might be need to be had by the Department of Transportation. So we're hopeful that we can get down to the bottom of this. And it's just kind of heartbreaking, all this money, time, and effort spent hatching salmon, trying to recover those certain species, and then they can't even get out to the ocean.
And it's a phenomenal amount. It's astronomical, the amount of tags that are down underneath there. They were trying to find out their patterns, and so many of them never made it through there, and some of the tags that did end up coming back and forth, it's in the belly of a seal, obviously. There's a lot of seals out there because of it. Another issue that happens is it's basically 20 feet, not below the deck you're on, below the float deck at the water. There's 20 feet that these fish run into, and they may not mentally know that they can keep going down because it's a flat surface. So they go down a little bit, they come up a little bit. They go down, side, and sometimes they just don't maybe make it away, but they end up sitting there that whole time. Another issue is the salinity of the water. If you ever remember as a kid, you see in a ditch or something, the water's flowing, a stick blocks it up, and then a sheen comes over the top of oil or whatever, and it kind of backs up over the top of the water as the water keeps going underneath. That's what's happening on the Hood Canal Bridge. When you look on the side and you see the solid water on the one side and the absolutely crazy water on the other, it's also collecting just fresh water there, because fresh water is lighter, so it sits up there and then it has to build up the pressure to push down underneath and around the sides. There's a lot of things going on with it that but they're not sure which one of the factors are getting the fish. It could even be because of all the lights on the bridge that the fish are attracted to it, and so everything comes to eat them because they're there. But all we know is that it's in the millions, basically.
Do you recall which species it is?
It was all the species, but it was coho more than anything else.
Thought it was a steelhead that
Well,
getting through because they're going to the side.
Yeah, the steelhead are getting through more than the coho are, but the steelhead is what started this, because it's Long Live the Kings that started the process of finding out. They were tracking the steelhead and losing the steelhead there with astronomical numbers. But steelhead are a little different fish than salmon, so they seem to be a little more resilient.
Can I ask two questions?
Madam Chair?
I'd have no problem with
Yeah,
that.
we got time.
We have time, please.
Those same fish didn't have any trouble getting out, going north?
No, that's the thing. They're reared in the streams and stuff like that, and they come out, and they're not making it
To the ocean.
To the ocean. They're dying and dropping off there. They have things that read them in different markers, and they've watched for capacity of fish in different areas, and they find areas where they hold up with big numbers, but more of them don't even make it underneath and seem to be able to amass on the other sides.
And was this a problem before they rebuilt this floating bridge?
As a matter of fact, the year that they rebuilt, or the years that they're working on the bridge, they did not have the problem, no.
Well, that tells them, doesn't it?
Yeah. Oddly enough, the mortality rate was nothing like that. But at the time, there was no, floats in certain areas, no pontoons. There's been talk about maybe trying to take away a section, but then you won't have the buoyancy that you might think you would, even if you put something big, because you got to remember, 100-mile-per-hour winds go through there. And that shakes that whole world, and if you don't have that steady point in the middle that's connecting it together going sideways, and people also don't know that there's giant anchors that are anchored off at an angle going like this to try and keep them swaying as well.
Madam Chairman, we just get them training to go over the bridge?
Yeah.
You know?
We're trying to train them to go under it.
Thank you. Okay, is there any other items for discussion?
Saw the video on your volunteer day, your day of caring.
Oh.
Saw the video, saw the news clip on I think of Cairo that covered it. And I agree. It looks like an incredible.
It was an incredible project. It's probably the most satisfying one I've done for Day of Caring.
I was jealous. I wish I was there.
And I think we can do that again. I know a lot of people who are talking about continuing this type of work, and I would look forward to doing that outside the city as well.
Madam Chair, would you entertain the idea of moving on to item number 11?
I would. Just wanted to make sure we covered anything else. So we're now moving to item number 11.1, Support Services Director position. Diane Zorin.
Good evening. Diane Zorn, Support Services. I'm standing in tonight for Human Resources. And I'm here about the Support Services Director position. This was vacated back in May with the retirement of Bill Kenny, and the Commissioners appointed Frank Pinter as our interim director. We have solicited for applicants both internal and external. The Commissioners, along with Tim Whitehead, interviewed 5 applicants. And I'm here tonight to ask if you're ready to make a selection.
Yes, and not only did we interview 5 applicants, of that we had many more applicants twice. We've gone out and done our due diligence the very best possible. And my recommendation is that we hire Frank Pinter full-time as no longer the interim, but as the
Make him a
director.
permanent director?
Yes.
Okay.
And I don't know, but Commissioner Sheldon asked that it be shared that his feelings were the same.
Okay.
That it doesn't count for the vote. He just asked that that be shared, that he wholeheartedly supports.
Well, I support that recommendation. I'd also like to offer the position to Frank Pinter on a permanent basis.
So, Madam Chair, I'll make it as a motion if you're,
Please do.
okay. Madam Chair, I move that we hire Francis Pinter. Proudly.
And I'll second. It's moved and seconded to hire Frank Pinter as the Support Services Director.
Thank you.
Frank, thank you very much. All fair-
Aye.
I just wanted to thank the commissioners for their, for the opportunity to support them and to continue to support and service the community. I also wanted to thank the staff from Support Services staff for all their hard work and their commitment to service. And then I also wanted to thank my family for all their love and support. Thank you. Thank you.
You've got a wonderful family. It goes well on you.
And you've
Thank
done
you.
a phenomenal job as an interim, and we really look
Yes.
forward to working with you as well in many, many years to come.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Well, that takes us to other business of anything from the department heads or elected officials. We have a new department head here. Is there anything else you'd like to share? Ms. McFadden, our road engineer here, is there anything you'd like
Come
to share
on,
with
we
the
need
community?
5 minutes.
Nothing that exciting. Oh, I could give you an update on the bridge.
Please
Please.
do. Please.
Yeah, jump on.
Melissa McFadden, Mason County Public Works. So Commissioners, I had talked to you before, we had a bridge on Little Egypt Road that had a rotted pile cap. So we were forced to close the bridge. We couldn't allow traffic across it. We got a preliminary design from our structural engineer. We got that out to 5 contractors. We only received 1 bid from Quigg Brothers, so we awarded that work yesterday. They have until September 1st, I believe, to get started, and it'll be about a 20-day work window, so they should be done in September with that repair. And I know that it's been sort of an inconvenience for folks who have to go around on Little Egypt Road, so we are hopeful that we'll get that repair made and get out of there.
Great work. That was very
Stay right there,
fast.
though. We've got 4 more minutes. You know, for
I
those
could
who-
do some interpretive dance.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, she's been the one that's handled, for the most part, she was our interim public works director for a while, but she's been the one that's responsible for the wonderful roads that we have. You know, it's interesting, I'm just leaving you up here so that it doesn't just look like me just jumping on things and saying things. We had a conversation yesterday with a discussion of trading roads with State Highway for a road in Belfair. There's a road where the light is in Belfair in the Safeway store and the like. It's a very, very fine road that goes through. People think that's Highway 3, but it's not. Highway 3 or 300 it connects to the North Shore Road. Highway 300 actually goes down further. It's that little tiny road that goes to the right down further. And the discussion was, we don't really want to trade our roads are 10 times better, so then we'll end up with a junky road going down there compared to what she gets done. Throughout the community, especially in the north end, I got to admit, we have some of the best roads that I've seen anywhere. When I travel this state, I'm proud of us compared to what I see elsewhere. When I travel other states, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I think you're the most awesome thing in the world when I travel other states. I wanted to compliment you on your work and the quality of everything you seem to get done.
Thanks, Commissioner. Definitely a team effort. We have a great team of operations and maintenance folks who focus on maintaining our road system. We have great engineering staff who do capital projects and handle our bridges. So, yeah, really a great group of people that work at Public Works. So. Can I go?
Yes, thank you. Yes, I agree and I concur that we have the best roads in the state. We truly have the best roads in the state.
Yep. You know, Madam Chair, over the last few years when we've had this issue, we've drawn on a few others, such as reporters that were out there to come up and identify themselves and introduce themselves to the community. I don't know if Jeff Chu's ever come up and spoken yet.
Not really.
Would you please come up and entertain us with a little brief on who you are?
So this is Jeff Chu. He's
my boss and introduced me.
Yeah.
He's in eastern Washington. He works for iFiber One main headquarters. Anyway, yeah. What do you want to know?
where are you from? What's your name? What did you do before this?
Born in Santa Monica, California. Raised in San Diego. Educated at Arizona State University. Have a degree in broadcast journalism with a journalism emphasis. However, the first job I took was in newspapers, and I ended up staying in newspapers, all different sizes, metros. Worked at the Dallas Times-Herald back in the late 80s, and as a city editor and copy editor, and worked with the reporters there. One of the people I actually worked with kind of distantly was Molly Ivins. So anyway, you ever heard of Molly Ivins?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, she was considered kind of a hellraiser in Texas among
Texas?
among columnists.
That's pretty impressive.
Among columnists, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she was pretty impressive. Anyway, and Joe Bob Briggs Drive-In came out of there. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he was popular, and so was Skip Bayless, the ESPN sports guy. He came out of Dallas too. So those were all people I actually had the fun of working with. But anyway, ended up in newspapers. Got about 7 or 8 years ago. Got interested in video journalism, and which was what I was trained in originally, but had dropped out of for 30 years. And decided I wanted to tell stories through video. And so I had had enough of newspapers, which, as far as I'm concerned, have a limited shelf life, being what they are, unless they go to the web. We wholeheartedly embrace the web at iFiber One News, and that's where we're going to deliver our news until that's all there is left, which is what will happen eventually. So.
Now, you have a family too, right?
Yeah, I have 3 daughters, and one lives in Seattle. She's studying to become a physical therapist and occupational therapist, and I have another daughter who lives in Massachusetts with her husband, and on their little farm and near a pond. Beautiful place. I was just there when I was on vacation.
Yeah.
And it's in Maple Groves and all that, where they actually have
That's
maple
beautiful.
syrup.
Yeah.
And let's see, I have an older daughter in Brooklyn, New York, and I have no idea what she's doing because she's mentally ill. So anyway, unfortunately. So that's pretty much my life in a nutshell.
Thank you for being here with us and joining us.
Jeff, I have a question. Are
Yeah,
there any
sure.
impressions of Mason County that you want to share with us as,
Yeah,
as somebody
impressions?
that's new to
Well,
the area?
Yeah, I do, but I'd really like to keep them to myself simply because I want to be unbiased, you know.
Okay.
That makes sense.
I don't want to express my views about things, but generally, I don't think it's confronting any issues that aren't being confronted by other counties. I've worked in Jefferson County, and they have job creation issues, and they're not a logging town, but they are a paper town. They have Port Townsend paper there, which depends a lot on pulp and whatnot. Yeah, I think there are similar economies going on today, and in this region in general. So, and it's a challenge.
Great.
Thank you.
So good luck.
Thank you for your work.
Now that's how you drop the mic, right?
Well, you managed to do it. You brought us to 6:32, which is a continued public hearing to consider amendments to the Mason County Boating Regulations, Mason County Code, Chapter 9.04. Diane Zorn, you've been working on this. Would you introduce where we are with this issue?
We are now on another revised draft. This draft, actually, it has all of the regulation updates to bring it up to state standards. And we have dropped back the distance from shore. At one point, we had proposed 200 feet. And then there was an idea of maybe 200 feet on only the two larger lakes, Lake Cushman and Mason Lake. This draft actually takes it back to 150 feet from shore on all lakes. And it takes back the speed to where it was, to 6 and 8 miles per hour. And this draft, it leaves the traffic pattern section unchanged, so it remains counterclockwise. The speed regulations would be unchanged. It would remove the proposed wake surfing language, and it leaves the shoreline marker buoys unchanged.
Diane, can I ask you the question that was asked earlier in today's meeting? Has this ordinance, proposed ordinance, been reviewed by our prosecuting attorney for liability?
Yes, he was
Dangers.
part of when we were drafting the changes. Deputy Dugan and I met first, and then we brought in Tim Whitehead, and he met with us a couple times and
Okay.
compared it to the state regulations.
Okay, and the liability question was looked at very,
I guess I'm not quite sure the liability of
okay.
what. I mean, we have liability, and the whole intent was to try to reduce, to make the lake safer.
Okay,
So that's why we brought it into line with state regulations.
right.
And then that's where, too, I know Deputy Dugan was suggesting whatever the distance from shore is, keep it the same, just so it's consistent and easier to enforce.
Right. Ma'am, is that what you were referring to, those types of
I did not
liabilities?
know you were going to leave the counterclockwise provision. If you had removed the counterclockwise provision, I believe the county would have been held liable.
Okay,
after.
thank you, thank you.
I agree with you.
Okay, do you have any questions for,
I do not.
does anybody in the audience have a question for staff? Thank you. Commissioner, we had closed public testimony, and I wanted to double check with you that you still want to keep the public testimony piece closed.
I'm flexible. I can go either way. But I know that when we do this, if we do changes, it makes you more comfortable than, so.
Right.
I have no problem with,
Okay.
I don't know if there's anybody here that wasn't here before they had an opportunity to speak. Perhaps we can ask that question if there was anybody that did not have an
Yeah, because
opportunity.
our intention was that we would just deliberate on these changes and then vote, and not have public testimonies or anybody that feels they absolutely have to testify. Okay, then, I think,
Yes.
okay, yes, thank you. So, Commissioners' deliberation, I'll let you speak first.
Okay. Madam Chair, one of the things I'd like to share with them is, because that was the question that came up about the prosecuting attorney. In the very first one, when we were talking about having 200 feet, prosecuting attorney was here in my ear and saying we have no science to vet out the 200 feet. If you close a lane, that actually could put us in jeopardy as well. There's different things that are happening without any science to back anything up, but just a guess. Another thing that was explained by staff is when we were talking about doing one distance at one lake, a different distance at different lakes, Deputy Dugan, the one who actually has to enforce it, requested and asked of us that we do not do that, because he doesn't know how he'd be able to enforce it. And, you know, we do give a lot of deference to law enforcement when they have a request for us. There was another piece that was taken out, and that was on the wakeboard and whether to have them go on one side. I know myself, I was in favor of, if it's within 200 feet, having them still do it to one side. But we actually had, our chief came in, he went out and tested the theory, and that failed. The wake was the same, whether they did that or not. And then again, Deputy Dugan said to us, in order for me to inspect that, I have to have them pull the boat out of the water and find out whether or not they've adjusted it. And again, we have to defer to law enforcement on whether or not it's enforceable. That does make a difference. So that's why those specific points were removed. It was important, it was explained by Deputy Dugan, and I understood it. We had to keep the counterclockwise for another reason. If you look at the shape of a boat when it's coming at you compared to when it's at the side or at the back, it's a lot smaller picture just because of the way it's built. And when you have them going at each other, willy-nilly, the chances of devastating crashes are increased, because especially in the sunlight or whatever, you can literally disappear a boat coming at you. It's a lot harder from the backside. It's not perfect, but it's better than trying to look at it when it's coming at you with some of the sleek designs we have on boats these days. And going back to the original speeds and making sure that we kept the speeds small. Again, I think we were trying to help at one point and found out that when we were doing that, we were actually hurting, so we're putting everything back to the speeds that have been tried and true and verified all these years to be the safer speeds for those areas compared to what we were trying to do. So we went back to the recommended. And everything else in here that has been changed from the original is all to bring everything to state standard. That's mine.
That's a very good recap of the changes. You know, don't want to lose sight of the fact that there are very much a lot of rules in here regarding negligent operation, reckless operation, evading an officer, operating a boat under the influence, those sorts of things. So it is, the things that we've been debating and hearing a lot of testimony on are only a small part of this ordinance. I also just wanted to make a comment regarding wake surfing, and the attempt to try to mitigate the impact of a wake surfing boat is, I think, going to be almost next to impossible, unless one would determine a size of a lake where they would be allowed and they'd not be allowed on others. But again, compliance is going to be very tough because of all the lakes we have in the community. Whether or not this type of sport continues on over the years, will probably, if it's one that continues on for quite a few years, I imagine this issue is going to come up, not just in this community, but across the nation. And my hope is that manufacturers and those that do this type of sport will understand the impact it has in small lakes, and that there might be something that needs to be done from the private side of things. But it's hard to say whether this will be a sport that will continue on for quite a few years. I mean, water skiing itself is almost just non-existent, at least on two skis.
Makes me actually afraid of what's going to come next, to be honest with you.
I agree with you. The sailing from a boat, I know that's been popular for a while, but it's also losing popularity because of the danger. So I thank staff, and I thank Deputy Dugan and the Sheriff's Office for all your work, Diane, and for just bearing with us as we go through this very, very, very emotional and important issue for so many people. And I appreciated your work and everybody's efforts to try to get it right. And as much as we wanted to be able to do what a lot of folks wanted to do, it just, after you discuss compliance and the ability to actually enforce some of these rules, it made it clear that that the consistency was important, most importantly. So I would entertain a motion.
And if I can, I want to add one more thing to remind, because we did get a letter with somebody claiming that if it was shut down, that the property values would not change. I need to clarify that's wrong. I am a realtor, and I can tell you right now, if a lake becomes a non-motorized, no skiing lake, it changes the value of those properties. It just does. And that's why many of those people moved there, so they could do that. We do have lakes that do not allow for water skiing and stuff like that, and it's a choice on where we decide to live. But closing them down after they've already invested all this money, they would lose that value. That's the problem. They didn't know going in that they would have their lake shut down, and I was really afraid of that. And when I looked at some of those lakes, I really believed that it would have shut down at least 2. That may not seem like a huge amount out of it, but for those 2 lakes and those people, that may have been, well, it would have been a difference from not being able to sell your home again. Remember the recession we just had? People were backwards in their home. Imagine if that happened because the county decided to do that to you without the economy or anything else. Now all of a sudden, instead of a $500,000 home or $350,000 home, you got a $250,000 home. That changes things a lot. But I do hope that we can continue and look at this again, though, because this wake surfing, as you said, I think no matter what, we're going to have to find some way to deal with this. I just, at this point, and I think you're the same, we don't have an answer on how. We haven't been given a good way to deal with it, but we have to continue to look at it because it's getting bigger. They're not getting smaller. That's why I said I'm afraid of what's coming next. Are they going to have a boat that's going to put a 10-foot wave that's off the side? So we are going to have to find a way to deal with it. This way we thought we were going to do it just wouldn't have done it. That's all.
Absolutely true.
So, Madam Chair, I will make a motion.
Please.
Madam Chair, I move for the approval of resolution amending the Mason County Boating Regulations, Mason County Code, Chapter 9.04.
Version 3.
Yeah, as presented.
I'll second that motion. It's moved and second to approve the resolution amending the Mason County Boating Regulations, Mason County Code, Chapter 9.04, as presented.
And with a caveat, I'll be around after the meeting if somebody wants to yell at me.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye?
Aye, motion carried. Is there any other business to come before us?
Madam Chair, I move for adjournment.
We are adjourned.
And I will stay here and get mad at me, I understand.